Hello there. In this video I'm going to be giving you 5 pros and 5 cons about living in the beautiful city of Alpine, Utah. Alpine is a city that's about 28 minutes to the north of Provo, Utah, and about 35 minutes south of Salt Lake City, Utah. This is going to be a fun video, so stick around if you want to learn about Alpine, Utah. First time to this channel, you want to know everything about eating, sleeping, playing, and working, the good and the bad of Provo, Utah, and specifically today talking about Alpine, Utah, then go ahead and subscribe below. Click on that notification bell so you can be the first to stay current on everything about Provo. My name's Scott Walters, and I get calls very frequently from people just like you looking to make a move to Provo, Utah, and I absolutely love it. So if you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, send me an email, shoot me a text, give me a call. We can set up a Zoom meeting, and I'd love to help you make a smooth move to Provo, Utah, or the Utah Valley and all the surrounding city areas. And specifically today, we're talking about Alpine, Utah. Hey, again, I'll be talking about 5 pros and 5 cons of living in Alpine, Utah. And if you make sure you listen to the end of this video, I'll throw in a couple extra bonus pros that you absolutely need to know about living in Alpine, Utah. So let's get after it. So when I'm talking about pros of Alpine, Utah, probably the first thing that comes to my mind is it still feels very rural. Now, even though it's like located pretty much right in between Salt Lake City and Provo, Utah, it still has a very small town, rural atmosphere feel to it. There's still plenty of space, and where it's located too, it's right back up against the mountains, just kind of in a little cove area. And so it's off the beaten path. You're probably 15 minutes or so off of the I-15 corridor. So you're kind of back up against the mountains. And one of the reasons it's named Alpine is because it reminded some of the earlier settlers in the area of the Swiss Alps, I guess, in Europe. So it kind of has that feel with the big rocky mountains all around it. And just, you know, you don't have a lot of the big amenities that other cities have, and they've kept that small town feel. You know, in fact, in the year 2000, it had a population of a little over 7,000 people. Here we are 22 years later, and the population is just barely over 10,000. So Alpine has not seen that explosive growth that you've seen in a lot of the other communities in Utah Valley, specifically the newer communities of Saratoga Springs and Eagle Mountain, which are both, I would say maybe 20 minutes or so from Alpine. You know, both Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs started in the early 2000s. They were incorporated like in 96 and 97, and by the year 2000, there's like 3,000 people in those two cities, and they're right next to each other. And now between those two cities, they're pushing 100,000 people. So that just kind of gives you an idea. The growth has been over that direction, more on the west side of the freeway, whereas over up against the mountains where it's a little bit, you know, you have fantastic views, a little greener, a lot more wooded, doesn't feel like you're out in the desert. It just hasn't grown near as fast, so it's kept that small town charm to it. So that is my pro number 1 for Alpine. It still has the small town rural atmosphere and feeling to it. So my con number 1 happens to be that it's very expensive in Alpine. That's probably contributed to the small town atmosphere and feel to it, because it's a pricey town. It's just more expensive. It's probably the most expensive town in all of Utah County. Last time I looked, it looked like Alpine was the most expensive, followed by Mapleton and then by Salem. Those are 2 cities more on the southern end of Utah Valley. But Alpine's an expensive city. Homes are pretty much, most of the homes for sale start over $1 million, going up to 3-4 million plus. And so that's just one of the cons, is it's an expensive city. I was also looking, depending on which website you believe, I was looking up median income. Said the median income was $167,000. So it's definitely a wealthier city and a lot of large homes, very expensive homes. So that's con number 1, is it's just a more expensive area to live in. So my next pro is very related to my first pro, which my first pro was that it has the rural feel. My pro number 2 is the fact that it has those larger lots. Most homes are on larger lots, and that helps contribute to that rural feel of the area. It's very frequent to see homes on half acre, 1 acre, even more. In some of the more established older parts of town, you may see homes that are, on the quarter acre or third acre, but it's pretty much most all the new homes that you're going to see are going to be on a third acre plus, usually half acre up. And because it has those nice large lots, it just feels like there's more space there, and it makes it feel more country-like rather than being in a more compacted metropolitan area where the homes are much closer together. Like for example, if you just move 25 minutes to the west over to Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs, I mean, the homes quite literally are that close together. I mean, they've got them packed in very closely. You don't have that in Alpine. That's one of the charms to it, is there's just space. You have a little bit of room from your neighbors, and the yards are all big, usually very well manicured, very beautiful. So there's your pro number 2, the fact that it has very large lots for most of the homes. All right, so con number 2 is, I guess, the access. There's really only one main road into Alpine, Utah, and perhaps that's what's helping with the pros in my for my pros list of it being more rural and small town feeling, is because the access is not super great. You've just got the one main road. It's it's called the Alpine Highway. I'm trying to see what state route that is. I think it's State Route 74. Yeah, it's State Route 74 that runs into Alpine City. So there's just not a lot of access. You just have that one road. If you're coming from the north from Salt Lake, you'll be getting off on Timpanogos Highway. That's kind of the last Lehigh exit, and you'll be taking that all the way over. It's going to take you probably 10-12 minutes to get over to that Alpine Highway. And then you'll be turning left, heading back north, going into Alpine City. Now, if you're coming from the south, you have a couple different exits. I'm just looking at a map, and I'll put a map on the screen too. But if you're coming up from the south on I-15, then you have a couple options. You can get off on the Pleasant Grove Boulevard exit, and you can follow that and take it over to 100 East in Pleasant Grove and take that road all the way up to Timpanogos Highway, where you'd then turn left and then turn right onto the Alpine Highway. That's just a small 2-lane road, kind of hugs against Mount Timpanogos. And so that's one way you can get in there. You can also get off on Pleasant Grove Highway, and if you don't, and then just basically stay right on that main road that you get off of, and that'll actually turn right into a road that takes you right up into the Alpine Highway and right up into Alpine. You could also get off in American Fork or Lehigh and kind of come back over to those main roads and go up. So as you can see, there's no direct freeway access to Alpine. You've got to go through a couple cities in order to get there. So that's just my con, is it's not the easiest to get to just because it's off of the freeway. Okay, so pro number 3 is its location. Even though it's a little further off of I-15 than some of the other cities, it's still relatively close to the large metropolitan areas. It's only 35 minutes south of downtown Salt Lake City. So if you worked in downtown Salt Lake City, you've got really a relatively short commute to get on in there. Just to get into Salt Lake Valley, you're probably about 20 minutes. So it's real, because you would just take the Timpanogos Highway all the way over to I-15, and then you're just like 4 minutes up to the point of the mountain and then dropping down in the Salt Lake Valley. So if you worked in the southern end of Salt Lake Valley, you'd have an even shorter commute. And technically, you could even drive up and over the mountain through Suncrest and drop down into Draper. That would be another route that you could actually go as well. So anyway, it's really close to Salt Lake and everything that Salt Lake has to offer. But then again, you're only like 28 minutes south of Provo, Utah, the Provo-Orem metropolitan area. So if you want to go down into to do shopping at the malls in Orem and Provo, you're 25 minutes. You're going to BYU, then you're 28 minutes to go down to BYU to check out the football games or the basketball games, or if you happen to work at Brigham Young University, you're really close there. And again, Utah Valley University is even closer in Orem. That would be probably, again, 25 minutes or so from Alpine. So it's really centrally located, and of course it's very close to all the northern Utah County cities of Lehigh, Saratoga Springs, Eagle Mountain, and all the shopping districts that they have in those cities. So even though it's got the small town feel, it's still fairly close to all those amenities of some of the bigger cities. My next con for Alpine is there just really isn't a lot of shopping right in the city. They have one main shopping district right in the heart of town. Just as you get on the Alpine Highway and come into town, they have some offices there. Just a few little shops, different types of shops, doctors' offices. There's a couple gyms in the area, but there's no grocery stores in Alpine. So there's just not a lot of options that way for shopping. If you want to do any shopping, you're definitely going to be going into either Highland, where they have a Macy's, or Cedar Hills, where they have a Walmart, or the closest store in Lehigh is a big Smith's grocery store. To the Smith's grocery store, I'm going to estimate you're probably 7 minutes or so from downtown Alpine, and then you're probably 5 minutes to the Highland Macy's, and then again you're probably 7-8 minutes to the Walmart in Cedar Hills. Now there's definitely lots more shopping once you get over closer to I-15, and that's going to take you 12 to 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more depending upon traffic. So anyway, that's your con, is you don't have a lot of opportunities for shopping right in Alpine City, but then again, you're not too far away from those in the other towns nearby. Hey guys, so I'm in my backyard processing tomatoes for my garden. Utah is a great place for gardens and has a great climate for it, Alpine included. Look, if you're finding these videos helpful and informative about what it's like living in Alpine, Utah, then make sure that you like this video. Click on the subscribe button. Don't forget to also tap that notification bell so that you can stay notified every time I drop another video about what it's like living in the Provo, Utah area, and today Alpine. So hey, also don't forget, you got to watch to the end. I've got a couple great bonus pros about living in Alpine that you can't miss. So my next pro is Alpine's proximity to Silicon Slopes. So the Silicon Slopes is just a part of Lehigh where probably 15 years ago you had large technology companies come in. I think it was IM Flash. I think that was the name of them. They came in and built, or Micron. It was Micron. They came in and built a gigantic technology building there, and then that just ended up opening the path for a whole bunch of other technology startup type companies opening up in the area. And so it's basically right along that Timpanogos corridor, right off the I-15. So from Alpine, 10 minutes. And there are a whole bunch of technology type businesses in that area, headlined pretty much by Adobe, but you have Visa over there, Domo, a whole bunch of other tech type companies in the area. There's also kind of another hub at the Pleasant Grove exit where there's a bunch more offices and buildings. Probably 15 minutes or so from Alpine. So that's definitely a real big bonus to Alpine, is you're really close to some very well high-paying jobs. If you lived in Alpine, your commute would be very short. You'd drive into work and you'd be able to go back home to your beautiful large lot and your very rural small town type fields. So there you go. It's really close to Silicon Slopes with all their opportunities to some great high-tech job opportunities. Okay, so my next con is the fact that Alpine really is not a walkable community. It's spread out, and a lot of the properties are kind of up in the hills and in the foothills of Alpine. And again, there are no grocery stores in Alpine, so you're not going to be walking to the grocery store. Not a whole lot of dining opportunities. You're definitely going to need a car to get around in Alpine City. This is really pretty true for pretty much every city along the Wasatch Front, or at least in Utah County. They're not the most walkable until you get kind of into Provo Orem, where it's a little more densely populated. Then you have more chances for walkability from your work to your playing or whatever you're going to do. But in Alpine, it's pretty spread out, and you're definitely going to want a car. I guess if you don't have a car, you can always call an Uber or use some other method of transportation that way. And it's probably too far to bike to the stores, although there's plenty of bike. I saw a lot of people biking there for exercise. It's a great place to do that. But as far as walkability, it's not a walkable community. All right, so my next pro is the fact that Alpine is, although there's not like a lot of dining options specifically right in Alpine itself, you're not too far away from a lot of the dining opportunities in Lehigh, specifically right there at the Timpanogos Highway and I-15 interchange. There are a lot of dining options right in that area. A lot of new restaurants being built in that area, a lot of established restaurants. And then you're just a couple exits to the south to get into some of the other dining areas in the other parts of American Fork and Lehigh and Pleasant Grove. So you're not that far away if you want to go have some entertainment to some nice dining options. Then again, you can just pop over the point of the mountain and you're into Salt Lake with all the other dining options and shopping options that you have up that way. Right there at that Timpanogos Highway and I-15 interchange is also the outlet mall. So you got some shopping opportunities right there. So even though you don't have shopping opportunities right in Alpine City itself, you're not too far away. You've got that big outlet store there. There's a large Cabela's right there at that exit. Again, that's 10, 12 minutes from Alpine, so you're really close to those shopping opportunities and dining opportunities. So the next con to me is the fact there's just not a ton of community amenities in Alpine City. And what I'm referring to is you don't have like a city recreation center like a lot of the other cities around it have. There are a few parks, and you do have some trails and things that you can go on, but there aren't a lot of city parks. Some other cities in Utah County with similar populations have a lot more city parks to go and enjoy. So that's just kind of a con, is you just don't, there's not a ton of that. But the flip side is, it's very rural feeling with lots of, quite a bit more open space. So I guess you don't need lots of parks if you have all that open space. But again, they do have a little park in the downtown area. It's been there forever. And then they have some kind of equestrian hiking trails kind of up against the mountains, and that can take you up into the mountains. So they do have that. But as far as a lot of big city parks with splash pads and lots of pickleball courts and things of that nature, there's not a lot of those in Alpine. All right, so I got a couple bonus pros for you. The first bonus pro to me is that Alpine is right next to American Fork Canyon. American Fork Canyon is an absolute beautiful outdoor recreational paradise. And it's from Alpine City itself, you're probably 5-6 minutes to the mouth of American Fork Canyon. It's a beautiful scenic drive driving up there. You got the river coming out that's on the side of the road, and that's a beautiful sight. It's very... the geology is really interesting. It's really a very steep canyon with lots of just rocky cliffs. And one of the cool things about that is one of the first attractions that you come to is the Mount Timpanogos, the Timpanogos Cave National Monument. That's one of the first things you can come to. Now that's a pretty steep hike. It's got it's a paved trail, and it switches back and forth, goes up the mountain quite a ways, where you can then have a nice tour going into the Timpanogos Cave and just see this. They usually have they always have a ranger that takes you on that tour and walks you through the cave and shows you everything inside that cave. That's one of the first things you come to. If you're a cyclist, oh man, people love to cycle up and down that canyon road and get up onto the Alpine Loop Road. So, and then of course you have lots of picnicking area opportunities up there. You have Tibble Fork Reservoir. You get it. That road is basically the Alpine Loop Road. It comes out. It can come out in several areas, but the main area that comes out is into Provo Canyon. So it would lead you right past Sundance Ski Resort. So if you wanted to go up to the Sundance Ski Resort, you could actually get to it from going up the American Fork Canyon. And one of the great outdoor amenities they have with the ski resort is it's not just wintertime skiing, and it has great skiing. Some of the best skiing is the easier skiing is on the lower part of Sundance, and once you get a little higher, it gets into more of the blues and the black diamond type skiing, the more challenging skiing. But if you're not into skiing, they have summer activities there too. You can actually mountain bike. They've got a lot of mountain biking trails there at Sundance. So you can buy a ski lift pass and bring your bike, and they hang your bike on the ski lift and you ride it up there and then bike down the trails. They also have a summer concert series there. My wife and I have been to several of the concerts up there. We've loved them. The last one we went to was Footloose. We did Mamma Mia up there, where you're sitting kind of up on the ski runs, and they got a little amphitheater down in there, and just a great atmosphere for a play. And they have other options. If you want to eat before the play, you can have a nice dinner in the shaded pines and some nice picnic tables. And so that's a really beautiful opportunity you have right there. In the summertime, it's just so green and vibrant everywhere. The trees are just so green. The quaking aspens are green and beautiful. There's more moisture because it's a little higher, so it doesn't really dry out and brown out like it does in the lower parts. Like Alpine itself down lower, like the grasses dry out in the summer. It's kind of brown looking around there. But if you want to get up where it stays kind of green all summer long, you just go right up American Fork Canyon. It'll stay green and absolutely beautiful. And then of course the fall time is stunning. Beautiful fall colors. You've got the maple trees that are turning their colors. You've got the bright orange and kind of almost pink red type colors, and the yellows of the aspens. It's absolutely beautiful. So that really is a huge bonus to Alpine. You're really close to that outdoor activity of having the American Fork Canyon right next door. Okay, very quickly, my next two bonus pros is the fact that Alpine enjoys some of the highest average property values in the county for Utah County. Again, I mentioned it earlier that, you know, the property values in Alpine are pretty high, usually followed by Mapleton and then by Salem. I guess you could throw in Hobble Creek. There's some very expensive homes up there, but that's technically in the county, not in a city. Anyway, so they really enjoy some nice property values in there. You've got a lot of nice, beautiful homes that help bring up the value of everybody's home. So you'll enjoy that. The other thing is the amenity is the view. If you're up on the bench areas of Alpine, you have some fantastic views overlooking the valley, overlooking the city. You can see most of Utah Lake and looking down south towards the southern end of Utah Valley. So it just has some absolutely beautiful views. So Alpine, great views and good property values. So again, my name's Scott Walters. Appreciate you watching this video on the pros and cons of living in Alpine, Utah. If you have questions, you know, reach out to me. I love when people reach out to me. I'd love to help you, get you any more information you'd like to know about Alpine City, about the school districts, about the house prices, anything you want to know about Alpine, give me a call, send me a text, shoot me an email. I'd love to help you make a smooth move to Provo, Utah and the surrounding areas, and specifically again today talking mainly about Alpine. I would love to help you make a smooth move to that area. And again, appreciate you watching. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Make sure that you like it and then click on that notification bell so that you can get notified every time I drop another video about living in Provo, Utah and all of Utah Valley. So I'll catch you on the next video.